Chronopunk, a novel, episode 7. Now we're getting to the meat of the story here. The big chunk of this episode is actually outlining the purpose of Moody's mission, and that is to go back in time and prevent Ben Bernanke from printing money. Now, the explanation for why this is important also. In other words, I can't expect the reader to understand the exact implications of quantitative easing and why humanity would make such a big deal out of this. So I'm trying to explain that. And there's a section in this chapter which does exactly that. So there's an economic analysis of the financial crisis in 2008 and the repercussions and why the Federal Reserve chose to print money. And I think with these types of economic concepts, it's always it's difficult to explain it to a broader audience the implications, because there is always the concept of moral hazard behind it, and that is the problem. In other words, while it sounds obvious that bailing out banks is unfair or wrong or something like that, I think there's always a big chunk of people who might think, yeah, but so what? So why not bail out banks and prevent a further crisis? Why not do this? Why not do that? And the problem is moral hazard, and that's a very subtle problem. And I think the author is trying to explain this in this episode, that the problem is not the actual bailing out. The problem is the signal you're sending to everybody else in the future that it's okay to be a charlatan in finance. It's okay to lose money. It's okay to socialize losses, and that leads to financial shenanigans, and that leads to the financial crisis that, according to the book, the United States economy is in the 2060s. And I mean, this is obviously very contemporary, relevant today. We have Doge, we have Donald Trump, Elon Musk trying to cut the deficit. So we're already in that situation in 2025. What this book is anticipating is that over the next 40 years, it will get much, much worse. Financial crisis is always a predecessor to a constitutional crisis. This is almost, this is the physics of politics. That's how it works. You have financial problems. You start bailing out more and more people because the financial problems create more victims. In order to prevent civil war or strife, you throw money at people, and then your financial problems get even worse. With the money being thrown at people, the government gets more and more power. With the government getting more and more power, politics becomes more prevalent. The economy has to be sort of put on a back burner. In other words, the real value creation gets crowded out by politics, by redistributive politics, by pork barrel deals or pork deals or whatever that whatever that's called. So productive economic activity goes back. Kids study useless majors at universities because those are the kinds of majors that get you to the cushy government jobs that have the power to redistribute money. And we're in that economy right now. I mean, we have lots of people that study things like economics and history and law just because that gets you jobs on Wall Street or in consulting or in Washington D.C., which is really very unproductive work relative to the actual work that is important, which is the kind of work that you build things, you design things, you create new things, you create innovation, all of that stuff. So we're in that kind of economy, and this is the situation that we are in 2064, actually. And Mody is now being sent back. I think we've discussed this in the past, so this is not new. What's new in this episode is now the mechanics of this. He's actually being sent back. He is supposed to blend with other people. He does that. We're in 2007 now, so the story goes from 2064 to 2007. The now is actually the 2007, 8, 9 period, and the future is in the 2060s. But we're sort of, because this is a time travel novel, we have two time periods which happen at the same time. And 2007 is the the time when he establishes first contact with mission control. This is the small step for mankind, big step, small step for him, big step for mankind kind of thing. We rephrase that into a small thought for you, and a big leap for mankind, because the connection happens through Neuralink. On the other side, in Control Center, there is Belal. There's a little bit of a sexy story behind that, because Mody, before he is about to set contact with Control Center, this is the first intergenerational contact ever done in a time travel mission, and he has to abort because actually he gets picked up by a girl. The girl starts chatting him up. He ends up sleeping with her to avoid suspicion. And then about a few days later, he actually establishes contact, and his boss, Lisa, the head of mission control, she's upset. So then there's this funny line in the book where Mody thinks to himself, well, the first intergenerational connection between humans happens between a woman that is upset that her man slept with another woman. That's just, sprinkling a little fun. I think what this novel is trying to do is really connect science, philosophy, and entertainment. It's supposed to be an entertaining story, so hopefully this helps a little bit. There's a little bit of a Chicago backstory here, that the connection happens in a blues club and a jazz club, so there's a bit of that. Music is going to play a bigger role in the book as we go forward. We will see that. But another important part of this episode is the introduction of Deborah Fidler. She is going to be a big number in this book, because she is the lawyer that Mody consults to go fight the Fed. So there's plan A, which is that we're going to use law firms to go after the Federal Reserve. There's plan B. We're going to talk about plan B also, but plan A is to use the legal route and attack the Federal Reserve. And Deborah Fidler, she is the lawyer. She's a sexy woman from half Slovenian, half Austrian. She has a PhD in finance from Princeton or something like that, law and finance. She's a federal finance lawyer, so she goes after big guns, financial fraud, Ponzi schemes, things like that. Protects the small guy from the big guys, kind of lady. We'll see more about her personality later. She's an interesting personality, like other characters in the book. Her character is very sharp and very unconventional. She's law, finance. She fights against the big guys. She also she has a music background. We'll see that later. So she's similar to Simbi. Simbi grew up in the Bristol music system, and we spoke about the Bristol music system there. We're going to talk about the Chicago house scene later on, but this is not in this episode. So there's a theme here also, that we have these professionals that always have, they also have another line. So these are, if you will, well-rounded people. These are interesting people. They're not just geeks. This is, Deborah is not just a lawyer. She's a DJ. She loves music. She hangs out in clubs. Mody's a fighter. He's also an astrophysicist. His father, same thing. Lisa was an athlete and also a phenomenally attractive woman, and she was in commercials, but she's also top of her class when it comes to to university. So there are all these nuances, I think, that hopefully add spice to these characters, and Deborah is a good example. So again, this episode is really hitting some of the very, very important notes in this whole book, which is the reason why we are actually on a time travel mission, the economic reasons, and we're introducing one of the main characters who's just going to help Mody fight against the Federal Reserve's quantitative easing. Thank you.